we are doing a lot to be able to cope with the fact that if there has to be online or distance learning, then what are the kinds of norms, policies that have to be identified for that. Policies that all the managements have to look at are way beyond just what they currently have. So I think we've got the issue of timetabling for 3 children in a household. One might be in first standard, one might be in fifth, one might be in the 8th. How do you then make sure that the timetable is in accordance with each one's availability and access to the devices, and that the parents have the ability to share those with the children as well. We also have to look at, going beyond the guidance right now. Things like, what are the phone call protocols? If a teacher has to call up the parents and the children, what kind of protocols have to be put into place for that? What sort of data protection do people have to be aware of? Whose data and what data is going to be made visible and available? What kind of video recordings are to be allowed? How does the management have a policy on whether children can be seen or not seen, and to what extent they can be? So the entire issue of being able to let children know who don't have much exposure to what is social media and the digital footprint that they're creating. What kind of a student-teacher interface needs to happen? So how does the teacher have to be ensuring that there's enough happening in terms of questions and formative assessments, as well as use of education technology, like you have Padlets and Mentimeters, and a lot of ways of being able to get instant responses from children to be able to see whether they are available, attentive with you or not. So that entire protocol, how does one run a class online? Really, it's so different from running something that's face-to-face. Is there, an understanding of what is academic honesty? Do they understand that you have to have reference to your sources? This is all a very big thing, because we are not looking only at government schools and protocols being given to government schools. We're looking at the entire space, which has private, aided, as well as government schools. The space of policy has to become very, very driven by what's actually happening on the ground, rather than on what a good policy should look like right now. For online learning or distance learning is how capable are children of independent learning, right? Because once you learn how to read, and once you can read any text, then there's no limit to how much you can learn. And that, if we can look at as foundational literacy and numeracy, and if we can get that right, then I think, we don't have to worry. The children can drive their own learning, and the parents can be a support, as well as the teachers can be facilitators. And that's where we have to go. So hopefully we're going to use this time when we're living under the shadow of COVID to be able to get long-term professional development work, continuous professional development for teachers and for teaching leaders, to say this is the way forward. And that's going to be supported by all the technology that we have. Not by replacing anybody, but by actually saying, how can technology be led by pedagogy rather than the other way around? And I think the quality depends entirely and will always depend on the experience the child has, and that depends on the teacher, ensuring foundational literacy and numeracy. They need to, of course, know about how to keep their children safe online. That's one of the biggest jobs that they have. And they have to therefore learn about what kind of platforms are being offered to the children if they are learning online. If they're not learning online, then the issue of how do you actually collect the textbooks as well as the worksheets from the school, from the teachers regularly, take it back regularly for corrections, become the conduit between the teacher and the child. That's very important. And if you have very young children, then how do you learn enough about what children need? So how are you equipping yourself to be the first teacher of the child? That's going to be the fundamentally important thing for a parent of a younger child. Whether it's a father or a mother is not the issue. I think both need to be equally aware of what has to be done and how to create that ecosystem where a young child can learn.